You open your eyes, and the first thing you notice is the smell. Not a bad smell exactly, but a very honest one. Horses, smoke, and wind that has traveled from somewhere extremely far away. The second thing you notice is that you are lying on animal skins inside a tent, and the tent is enormous. And outside the tent, based on the noise, there are approximately 40,000 people who appear to be waiting for you to do something. You sit up. Your arms are wrong. Not broken, just not yours. These arms have carried swords and bows and probably several historical grievances. Your hands are calloused in the specific way that only decades of horseback riding and continental conquest can produce. You look down at yourself and confirm what your gut already knows. You are Genghis Khan, founder of the largest contiguous land empire in human history.
What?
You are, by most measures, the most powerful human being alive on planet Earth in the year 1206 AD. And you have absolutely no idea what to do next. You take a slow breath and run a quick inventory of what you know about Genghis Khan from your previous life, which consisted mostly of a Wikipedia skim during a school project you did at 14 and a documentary you watched while eating cereal. Facts confirmed. Born in Mongolia around 1162. United warring tribes through a combination of military genius, political marriages, and the kind of charisma that makes people genuinely want to follow you across a desert. Built an empire stretching from China to Eastern Europe, known for being terrifying to his enemies and surprisingly progressive to people who joined him voluntarily. He had a thing about religious tolerance. He also had a thing about horses, and he had, by conservative historical estimates, a very complicated relationship with the concept of restraint. Facts you are less sure about. Everything else. Which includes where you are right now, who the man standing outside your tent is, what he is holding, and whether or not it is your job to do something about it. A general steps into the tent. He is large, armored, and wearing the expression of a man who has not slept in 3 days because his Khan has not given him orders and the army is getting restless. He speaks to you in Mongolian. You understand none of it. 0%. You nod slowly, the way people nod when they are very committed to the performance of understanding. He nods back and waits. You nod again. He nods again. This continues for what feels like 11 years, until he finally asks you something with a tone that suggests it is a yes or no question. You say yes.
Yes.
In English. He blinks. You clear your throat and try to project the energy of a man who just meant to do that. He bows, backs out of the tent, and you hear him barking orders outside. You have no idea what you just agreed to. It could be anything. A military campaign? Lunch? A military campaign that is lunch. You will not find out for approximately 3 hours. It was a military campaign. Of course it was. Someone brings you a horse, a massive gray Mongol stallion who has apparently been in the personal service of Genghis Khan long enough to have opinions about everything. He stares at you. You stare at him. He can tell immediately that something is different. Animals always know. You have ridden a horse exactly once in your life, at a birthday party when you were 9. The horse at that birthday party was named Biscuit and moved at approximately the speed of a philosophical debate. This horse is not Biscuit. This horse is a military vehicle with feelings. You get on. He lets you, which you suspect is a temporary mercy. You sit in the saddle and realize that this body knows things your brain does not. Your legs grip automatically. Your posture adjusts. Your hands take the reins with a familiarity that does not belong to you, but is somehow available on loan. The muscle memory of 40 years of horseback riding stored in a body that is letting you borrow it. You ride out of camp at the front of 40,000 soldiers, and you think, okay, maybe this works. The horse glances back at you. He is not convinced. Here's the thing about waking up as Genghis Khan that nobody prepares you for. The body is not the hard part. The body is incredible. You are in peak physical condition. You are strong, fast, and apparently immune to temperatures that would hospitalize a modern person. You sleep 4 hours and wake up rested. You eat dried meat and fermented mare's milk, and your body processes it like premium fuel. The steppe wind hits your face, and instead of making you want a scarf and a hot drink, it makes you feel like you own the horizon, which, technically, you do. The hard part is the weight. Not physical weight, the other kind. Every person in this camp is alive because they bet their life on you. Every general, every soldier, every family trailing behind the army. They gave up their individual tribal identity to follow a unified vision. And the vision is you. Or it was you. Now it is you, except you are a person from a completely different century who knows how this story ends. You know the empire will fragment. You know the successors will fight each other. You know that the Black Death will travel west along Mongol trade routes and kill a third of Europe. You know all of this because you studied it in a warm classroom 8 centuries from now, and that knowledge feels suddenly less like education and more like a grenade you are carrying with no idea whether the pin is already out. By week 2, you have a plan, a genuinely intelligent, historically informed plan. You remember from the documentary that one of the key reasons the Mongol Empire eventually weakened was overextension. Too much territory, too few administrators, supply lines stretched across thousands of miles with no real infrastructure holding them together. So you do the smart thing. You call a halt to the Western campaign. Through a combination of gestures, a stick drawing in the dirt, and what you hope reads as firm authority, you communicate to your generals that the army should consolidate east first. Build stronger administrative routes. Secure the supply lines before pushing further. Do not stretch. You have read enough history to know that every empire that collapsed did so because it stopped knowing where its edges were. Your generals look at each other, then at you, then back at each other. There is a long pause of the kind that fills rooms when someone in charge says something that makes complete sense, but zero tactical sense at this exact moment in time. Then they comply, because you are the Khan, and the Khan just made a strategic decision. You feel good about this. You feel like a man who has used knowledge responsibly. You spend the next 3 days in a state of quiet satisfaction, which is a feeling that history is about to charge you a very large fee for. On the 30th day, you wake up back in your own body. Couch, apartment, cold coffee, phone at 4% battery, the whole thing. You sit there for a moment, breathing, running your hands over your own soft, non-calloused palms. Then, because you are the kind of person who immediately needs to verify things, you open your laptop and pull up everything you remember about the Mongol campaigns of 1206. And there it is. A footnote. A small, almost boring footnote in a university paper on Mongol military strategy. It reads, "Historians note an anomalous 6-week halt in the Western campaign during this period, the reasons for which remain unclear. The delay allowed the Jin dynasty to reinforce its northern borders, a strategic window that prolonged resistance by nearly a decade and significantly increased Mongol casualties in subsequent campaigns." You stare at the screen for a long time. The halt you ordered. The smart, historically informed, responsible decision you made to consolidate and not overextend. The one thing you were confident about. That was already in the history books. It was already recorded as a mistake. Not Genghis Khan's mistake, just a mistake that happened. A strange, sourceless pause that cost lives and dragged out a war. That was you. You did that. You read 8 centuries of history, walked into the middle of it with a plan, and made things measurably worse. Not because you were reckless, because you were careful. Because you took one true fact, empires overextend, and applied it to a specific moment you did not actually understand, in a language you could not speak, with information you only half had. You close the laptop, you drink your cold coffee, and you sit with the specific, quietly devastating realization that knowing how a story ends is not the same as knowing what to do in the middle of it. That confidence built on incomplete information is just ignorance with better posture. That the most dangerous person in any room is not the one who knows nothing. It is the one who knows just enough to act.